Welcome to Akhand Vidyashram, the first institute of impeccable wisdom. Let's discuss what Karma Yoga, based on Dharma, Karma, and Moksha, the strength of the mind and action which can take us to the impeccable wisdom. This picture is fantastic from every angle. There's so much of wisdom in each. We are going to discuss about that as we move on. But before going to that, I want to talk about the beauty of temple of Karma Yoga, how action, thoughts, and process mind can make you go to the universal consciousness. And this is for everyone. Anyone who considers work to be worship, service to humanity, a service to divinity, a service to every being is the divine consciousness. Only that person can rise. The first foundation invariably is based only on truth, Satyameva Jayate. And second thing I always say, it is ahimsa, non-violence, and pure vegetarianism is the second one. And third, honesty, commitment, and discipline is again with your work itself. You should be integrated worker, consistent and dependable worker. You should have a perfect intention of moving from 0 to the 100 with a complete intention. Any person whose intention is only perfection, all the important decisions, everything would be in such a way that end result will be fantastic. And you should be omnipotent, omniscient, omnipresent in every way, and that is the strength of Karma Yoga. Then you should have perfect education, enlightenment, and empowerment only when you work towards that. The impeccable wisdom of the divine nature can come only for a Karma Yogi. The first foundation of rising is Karma Yoga only. Rest of things we will discuss as we go on to the Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Vigyan Yoga, Pragyan Yoga, Akhand Yoga, other things. And these are all start with the Karma only. Now, this particular picture is representation of Rig Veda and the periodic table all. That means the mineral kingdom of atom, elements, molecules, compounds, cells, tissues, tissue organs, 10 organ systems, organism is all based on the information which we have in Rig Veda, and elements as such in periodic table is a beautiful work and all. And that's it. Now, let me tell you one thing very clearly. If you want to be a perfect human being, you got to flow with your indwelling soul. And I do believe every human being is born with the indwelling soul, which is, you can call Kundalini, you can call it Aditi, you can call Antratma, call it by prana, call it by any name. But that is the one which gives you towards truth and impeccable wisdom. If the concentration is inside with that, and that will never let you make a mistake. A helium is synthesized in the core of the sun. Fraction which comes out gets into the human being, and that's the one which makes us a perfect human being. So spiritual enlightenment with indwelling soul is absolutely essential. Now the question is, second, Jivatma is the human being, which I said the periodic table. Antaratma is where helium, Kundalini and Prana comes together. There is a third element for Paramatma, the universal consciousness, the divine soul, and is represented by goddess Adi Parashakti with 18 names. Same thing was with Durga, and same thing is in periodic table. So this thing centers around 18 groups in periodic table. Aditi, Durga, all are the divine consciousness. Paramatma, you don't call it male or female, it's the divine soul. And divine soul always known by the Shakti rather than the Shakta as such. Now, the particular picture which I showed is Arjuna as well as Lord Krishna sitting on the chariot. And I do believe Arjuna is a perfect warrior. And he is very good in Jivatma, I mean his physical body is perfectly healthy, wealthy, wise and happy. But he is also connected with Antaryatma, the indwelling soul. Perfect combination of Jivana, Antaratma is Arjun. No wonder he is the first warrior I know who even as a child could see the eye of the bird on the tree and attack it precisely. And that is the concentration everybody should have. Human beings can be like Arjun, even among everything, only small spot like you can see. And that is also beauty of eagle. Right from top you can see even small thing moving on the earth will come attack and take it. That is the quality of Arjuna, and that is what I call Adi Aham Brahmasmi. Human beings who are like God, Advaita philosophy, would have in connection with Jivatma, both body and Jivatma together only are what lead to Aham Brahmasmi or Advaita philosophy. Now comes to question Lord Krishna, the divine soul which is there, who's running the chariot. Arjuna is sitting back, but it's Krishna who's doing it. But Krishna has got three things, rather complete thing. He is the Jivatma, the human body, the perfect one in every way. We know it. Antaratma is there in that person. No wonder he can do whatever he wants inside the body and outside the body. The highest divine soul, Paramatma, is also, he is the Purusha, Purushottam and Purushottamatma. All the three combinations are there, and I call that concept as a Trit Paravidya. Only when Jivatma, Antaratma and Paramatma, the divine soul, all the three work together, only then you know A to Z of entire self and the whole solar system, spiral galaxy and the universe as such. And the entire thing is what a Karma Yogi can do it. Because you might be having destination, but only the karma is going to help you to rise. Without karma, nothing can really work. Now, two sloks from Holy Gita or Bhagavad Gita, I am going to talk about it. Verse 2, 47 shlok is very clear in the whole concept. Karmanya vadikare ma phileshu kadachan. That is one part. Lord Shiva emphasized the importance of duty and detachment for the results of one's action. I make it very clear that I have understood as a child. Do your karma to the best of your ability and don't worry about the fruits and other ways, because only the person who does work 24/7 is the one who is getting the fruits. If you're going to think about fruits and then work, you are wasting your time. You do your work with good intentions, which I talked about it as the temple of Karma Yoga. You will have excellent results. Even for a moment, you don't have to think about fruits and results and recognition, money at all. And ever since my childhood, I'm not concerned about money. I'm not concerned name. I'm not concerned about name. I'm not just don't flee, because their liabilities by and large. More you have money, more you get into Chakravyuh are creating problems for yourself and the world. And more you name and fame, you become irritant for everybody and you are irritant for yourself. Even me, at this stage, with so much of work, you can hardly see my pictures, you can't see me at all, because there is no need for it. People need to know the knowledge, not the pictures, not the name, not the fame, not the titles, and not the money, other thing. Money is important, but it has limitations. When you do your karma, you get paid automatically much beyond you need. But then how you use the money effectively, it makes the difference. Who's going to rise will use it optimally with every moment, not waste even one paisa or anything. And that is the first thing which I learned from this. Do your karma to the best and don't worry about fruit. Fruits are going to be a problem. Second thing, you have a right to perform your prescribed duties. We all are born to do that. There is no other code. But you are not entitled to the fruits of your action, because if you have actions, then you are limiting yourself. And I see from myself, people are interested in becoming master in one group. And when they are group in one, they could be master, but they'll be missing on the whole thing. What I learned from myself, I want to know and master and learn all the 64 arts and sciences, so that all the 64 parts of my brain are fully integrated. And person who thinks of all the 64 arts and sciences with a mathematical design, the one who's going to be educated, enlightened, empowered, and be in you can intelligent, you can do absolute only that person. And never consider be the cause or results of your activity, not be attached to its action. This is again in this particular thing is we are destined to do karma and we have to do all the karmas. And we is a part of the duty as an individual. More and more I am focused on one other. Actually, I am creating sectarian self within self. We have to learn all the 64 arts. We have to enjoy. We have to be like a student all our life. And I do believe, although I have given the world some which has never been done, the history of mankind in every form, in mathematics, symbol, and other things. But I only continue to be only a student because every video of mine has to be better than me. I am only a student learning what is Ved, Upanishads and scriptures talk about it, how the science has taught me, how both can be put together as spiritual science for the world's benefit, so that there is a world peace and there is knowledge for everyone, love of it for impeccable wisdom. Second thing is 248. This is again something which I have very clear, where Krishna is talking to Arjuna. He is making it very clear. First is the concept he talked about it. There he straightway telling Arjuna, perform your duty at the equilibrium. Like a yoga you do it. Yoga state steady. And when I talk of yoga, it's a union of Jivatma with Antaratma, and Paramatma is yoga. That means you are in tune with the universal consciousness. You will be only perfect, not anything other than that. And that is you. When you are connected with Antaratma and Paramatma and everything is perfect and do work and abandon all the attachment, success or failure at all. Because your process is only to do good karma. When karmas are good, intention is good, results are bound to be good. नियत अच्छी है, नीति अच्छी है, नतीजे अच्छे हैं. That's exactly what it is all about. And then such equanimity is called yoga. And I do agree. My whole concentration started with Kundalini Yoga, went on to Akhand Yoga, from Patanjali Yoga Sutra, Ashtang to then of this has made me really understand A to Z, the entire universe completely. And I want everybody to think from that angle and remain a student for generation and generation, and don't worry about anything other than that. That's the beauty of Holy Gita in both 247, 248, and rest of the whole Gita, Upadesh by Lord Krishna to Arjuna and to the world, and including me, is a perfection. I do agree. But Akhand Yoga and Akhand Sutra take steps more than Gita itself. Gita represents Ved, Upanishads, other things. But Tantra and mathematics and very precise, concise things which have emerged over a period from sectarian sectors is brought together in Akhand Vidyashram, and that brings to the level much higher than Gita, much higher than Vedas, much higher than Upanishads. Their sectarian part, but integration is Akhand Sutra and Akhand Vidyashram by and large. Now you have seen this picture. Now this picture also is what is found in Katha Upanishads. One picture which is very clear about the chariot of Katha Upanishad. I am going to talk about it, each thing step by step. The first thing, there are 5 senses. 5 horses represent 5 senses, and that is, you have the skin, the touch, and also the taste, smell, hearing, as well as sight. All the 5 are basic things which everybody should have a perfect. With open eyes, with open senses, we should be in tune with universal consciousness, not closed inside. You should be inside to outside with open thing. And that is what I'm going to show, why my EEG with eyes closed and eyes open. And with eyes open is much better than eyes closed itself. That shows all the 5 senses should be open, they'll be perfect. You perceive the entire world with the 5 senses only. And unless until they are perfect, you cannot be. And that's what I say. the sensory component and motor component. You should never drink, you should never take non-vegetarian, you should not take drugs which can reduce the sensitivity, will never let you become a perfect being. You have to be perfect in every aspect. No intoxication, no defects, and you should lead a perfectly healthy life all your life. This is 5 horses mean. Then second, there are 10 reins connected with 5 horses. That means there are 10 stages of development everywhere. There are 5 senses, but there are 10 dimensions by and large which control the mind, are the horses which are going haywire, fluctuating, fleeting, etc., should be brought under control. Mind should be. It's a chit vritti nirod. Stop the fluctuation mind, only then you are a yogi. But I say after that only Antaratma rises. When Antaratma rises, you go with Antaratma, make optimum use, only then you know Akhand Yoga. So control the mind is the first thing, which is with the 10 senses, only then you can move on to the next stage. Now comes the question of chariot is the human body, and I make it 100 trillion cells of the human body should be perfectly in tune with each other. Only when perfect human body is there with 5 senses and all the mind, everything controlled, only that person can be intelligent, buddhi, Mahat, intuitive, and can be in tune with universal consciousness as well inner consciousness, and then only he have the knowledge of Ved, Upanishads, scriptures, Gita, Mahabharata, Ramayana, and all the modern sciences which we talk about, which are perfect, not the one which are defective. Then comes the question of Arjuna. As I told you, he represents Aham Brahmasmi, and Jivatma and Paramatma, whatever he tries as a warrior, he is a master as warrior. Nobody can excel beyond him. He is the best. As I told you, he could see that. He is the only one who could see the fish and attack it in the reverse direction. In anything and everything he could beat. I mean, that is what I mean. You should be mastered in what? But over a period you should master in all the 64 art is more important, what I am trying to understand. Now the Lord Krishna, I told you, integration. He is the Jivatma, he is Antaratma, he is Paramatma, he represents the whole thing, and he represents spiritual science as such. The person who stood by Dharma, Dharma, Dharma alone. For him, Dharma is important. Anybody who is not doing Dharma, he would demolish. But only difference between me, I don't kill people, but anybody who's doing defect against me or going against me, they themselves disappear by divine nature itself. Because nature is standing by the person who's into the nature. Nature is more powerful, you can even dream. That is what this particular shlok is all about. Do your karma. Nature will see to it you are still completely guided, protected and shielded with bhakti yoga of the divine consciousness, and nobody can touch. So you, a person who becomes so perfect, he becomes ahimsa completely by himself, and nobody ever since my childhood can raise a hand and touch my aura itself. Forget about hitting me. And that's the beauty of universal consciousness as such. Now the divine, and also this particular picture is also divine mathematics involved. The 5, 10 numbers, everything is so beautifully designed, which centers around Divyak, why and large. Now an experience in indwelling soul, which I am going to talk about it, how my Karam Yoga, which I started as a child and looked at the entire universe with an open eye to understand the beauty of mathematical design, symbolic representation. What I gained, what are the few steps which make me stand out compared to every other human being in the world. Single person, far ahead of the people who wrote Vedas, Upanishads, scriptures and other things. And beyond all the concepts, everything stands out. And how he stood and what he is trying to present through Karam Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, Jnana Yoga, Vigyan Yoga, Pragyan Yoga, Akhandata and otherwise. Let's see how the unfolding took place. As I told you, the whole concept started from conscious, unconscious, subconscious to the conscious with Kundalini awakening and other things, and that was starting point in 1st January 1991, when I realized that I was doing with this from the first 40 years also. Now I'm aware. One, I'm aware, so I want to see this particular subjective experience. How can we objectively test it and see what exactly is happening within the body? And that is the research we started. And I keep saying, research can be genuine only when you have an experience, you know how to it, only then you represent the whole thing in an objective way, then research it. Doing research on something and you are not a subject, that research has no meaning at all. Since I was a subject, I was a researcher, I was the whole thing, no wonder I could go to the level which was unheard by any of the scientists of the world. No mathematician, because they were defective, physics were defective, chemistry is defective, medical science is defective, every science and art was deficient. But deficiency came up only because of Kundalini as such within me. And this is the experience of the first time. So Kundalini moved from Manipura chakra to Anahata chakra, as you can see it. And that awareness within my body brought to me that we human beings are so perfect. And I had no idea about chakras, nadis, and other things before this. I think this brought in together on 1st January 1991. Then how further I experience Shunya within my body, which is my Antaratma, and its expansion as a circle or Shunya outside. That's I realize that whole mathematics start from Shunya only, zero only, that is Antaratma, and expansion within this. 2 dimensions are spherical, 3 dimensions is all within the human body itself. And from there a divine mathematics arose. And I understood the divine mathematics after experiencing this way back in 1992 itself. Then how I experienced the 3 nadis and the chakras one and one. I realized in 93 there are 10 chakras, not 7 chakras, and what they are connected with autonomic nervous system and endocrine system, and how they act in perfection of homeostasis, perfect health by and large. Once these centers are integrated completely together, they will themselves tell you what to do and what not to do, and you follow the inside information and do that, you will never fall sick at all. Now comes the question of research thereafter. And in the research I found, when I concentrate on my brain, Sahasrara chakra right on top, 1 foot over the head, and I called it Samadhi stage. So in my Samadhi stage, the main subject is me, others are controlled. You can see the energy 3 times more than other people. That means if you are truly educated, I am not talking about literacy, you understand maths, physics, chemistry, medical sciences, all the subject perfection, you will have 3 times more power than the people. This was the research of my PhD work by and large. What is more important was, after opening the eye, you see in Sahasra Samadhi, Sahasrara chakra, the power is again 3 times more. But what is more important, the power comes from only alpha, not from others. Me, you can see Samadhi, alpha standing out. Percentage is phenomenal, almost 80% is that only. Whereas alpha in common people is not optimum, it is beta is more, and then it is. So that the difference, of first person who could produce alpha with eyes open is only Shiv Bhushan Sharma, and that was a PhD work represented in 2001. Both these things are from my PhD work of Madras University, presented in 2001, which is almost 24 years ago. Subsequently, with 2018, with the closed eyes, I could produce 8.5 Hertz throughout the brain with all the 64 parts uniformly and consistently. You can see this picture, this is 2018, whereas 2015 was Divyang thing. What is more important is, with the open eyes, it is 8 Hertz throughout the brain which continues. which is unique, and I can tell you when you have 8 Hz frequency, you are in tune with Akash Kosh, which is the recording of the past, present and future by and large. You become like a walking, talking encyclopedia. And this is a scientific thing which I have shown. But this is based on Karma Yoga alone. Then comes to the question of based on what Gita talks about Vishal Purusha or Vasudev Kutumbam or Virat Roop of Krishna, where males, females, everything is shown along with that in human form. And I have converted the whole thing into graphic presentation which is inanimate, not a male, female. And this picture was started in 1995 and this completed in 30 years as such. And you can see the same thing, beautiful. I think that gave me realize that this is universal consciousness. How first stage of Divyank is 22 by 21, 10 stages of development, and this you're going to see as I show you the next one. This was a combination of Divyank which I realized through the Karma Yoga, Gyan Yoga, Vigyan Yoga, Pragyan Yoga, ever since my childhood to till today, and the first person in the world to show the first stage of creation is equivalent to 22 by 21 of Divyank. There are 10 stages of development, you can see the power of 10. And the third stage of maturation is 0.344. So Brahma, Vishnu and Mahesh or Shiva are Brahma the first stage, Tasank is a 10 and 0.344 is equivalent to this particular golden ratio or 1.6180, which is a perfect decimal value of golden ratio as such. Entire divine mathematics is this. Then converting the divine mathematics into a symbolic representation is equally important, because if you all the languages, whether English, Sanskrit, Tamil, Telugu, Malayalam, all Indian or German, etc., they are deficient in everything. They cannot be perfectly translate anything in someone which uniformly can be understood. Only way it can be understood is only divine mathematics, which is Divyank, and all the symbolism. You can see the orbit around, which is 22 by 21. You can see 10 pentagons, which are 10 stages of development. Inside you can see 5, which is represent the third stage, and that is beautiful. These are the two things, divine mathematics and divine symbols are the only one can be rewritten in any language of the world based on these two things. That is integrative wisdom, and that is what it is all about. And only then universal consciousness can be known. And this is only on a consistent Karma Yoga only. Had I not worked on that, I wouldn't have reached that. So I give it, Karma Yoga is the first step of thoughts, mind, consciousness moving towards Antaratma, Paramatma and otherwise. Only then. Foundation is Karma Yoga and Karma Yoga only. Now having brought to this particular picture, everything is in this. We will talk about it when we come to this stage. This is what it is all. And I think it's enough for the time being. Thank you very